We got a host guest, boys. We got a host guest. I don't know how he didn't knock. He didn't use the gate pass. He showed up I don't know. John Epping, how are you, man? What'd you do? Jump the fence to get in here?
Yeah, I'm pretty quick at my old age still.
It doesn't sound like John Epping that we're talking to.
Yeah, what do you think of this raspy voice? That's what the Northern Air did to me on the weekend.
Oh, Northern. Okay, no party. It's not a hangover or anything.
We don't do that anymore.
Okay.
Curling's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. Thanks a lot for doing this, John. Welcome to the show, and congratulations, man, on a sort of run that you've been on lately. Good for. We'll let the other boys ask the other stuff. I don't care about the broom stuff, John. I really don't. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Seems like everybody else does.
Well, if he knew anything about it, he'd ask
no, I know all about it. Listen, Hansen, I know what I'm doing. So, I guess we'd like to get. Where did it all start for you, John? The curling game.
Well, I'm from a small town, Peterborough, and you either played hockey or you curled. And my mom was a curler. My dad was a great hockey player, but she kind of won the battle, and that's why I ended up curling.
Yeah, never did play hockey then.
Never. Don't even really skate that well, which is unfortunate. Like my dad was a heck of a goalie, OHL level goalie.
Oh,
but,
no way. Okay.
He never pushed me into the game.
Where did he play as a junior?
He played in Peterborough, and then he played a bit with the Petes. I think he played 5 or 6 games, but actually Roger Nielsen was coaching them.
Oh no, yeah, Christ, yeah, because he's from there. Yeah, Roger Nielsen.
Yeah. And him and Bob Gainey were good buddies.
Yeah, right.
Up, so.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, cool, man. So how are you? You were sort of away for a while, I guess, and now you're in the forefront.
Well put, Jimmy.
Isn't that nice? You were away for a while. That's yeah. And now you guys are front and center, man, going good. What do you equate it to, John? Where did the new life come from?
Well, I think it's a mix of the that youthful exuberance, combined with, I'd like to think, a bit of experience. The 3 players ahead of me are so hungry. They have so much to accomplish, and I feel like I still have a lot to accomplish as well. And I think that that mix and is kind of given me a bit of a resurgence. And it's obviously led to a hot start. It's still a honeymoon stage. We're only 4 months in, but you know what? Hey, we've faced some adversity already, and we've stayed pretty united through it. So I think that's going to go a long way to show what this team's possible and capable of doing.
Did you change practice schedules or anything, John? Did you double down on practicing and sports psychology or any of that stuff?
Well, I think a bit of the centralized training with 3 of us living in Toronto, especially third and second and myself. So the 2 Horgan brothers both live in Toronto. I think that centralized training really helps, being able to be together all the time, where my past teams, we've been pretty spread out. I think also just the schedule, we played a really busy schedule, but we played a really good mix of, I would say, your top tiered events, combined with some middle tier and maybe some kind of a lower third tier events, making sure that we got a bit of everything. Because I think in order for us to survive early in this, it would have been tough to play only top tier events.
Before I flip it over, John, the Olympics, trials are happening in mixed doubles and stuff, and more will over the next year. The Olympics are, I guess, a year away now. February. The year leading up to Olympics, John, do you do anything different than you normally do when you're, a high performance curler?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, this team it was a little different because we didn't have a spot. We didn't even have a pre-trial spot. So for us, the goal this year was just to play as much as we can, accumulate as many points as we can to put ourselves in position for the pre-trials, which we've done. We've actually put ourselves in a good position to go directly to the trials, as long as we can maintain kind of our positioning going into the end of the year. So, I mean, once we knock down that spot and get it, we'll definitely reassess. I think the boys will really look to me to help guide us into our prep for the next fall, because I've been to 4 Olympic trials. It's hard to believe it would be my 5th if we're fortunate enough to get there.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, John. Really appreciate it. It was funny call you. I think it was yesterday I phoned you.
Yeah.
And it was, you think your voice is bad now. Your voice is great now.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. I didn't know if I could do the show probably.
Anyway, I want to talk about, great year, obviously. We had a nice chat about that yesterday. But Tanner, really good skip, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Real good skip. Top shelf. And decides, but he's big as a house. Strong as an ox, big as a house. And willingness to go down from skip, not third, but to second. I guess I'd like to hear from you the impact of a player like that on your team, but then somebody as big as he is willing to go down to second.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of left the two of them, the two brothers, to kind of decide where they wanted to play in the lineup. And I think Tanner thought Jacob did such a great job playing third the last couple of years. And Tanner, I think, was ready for a break. The stress, he's been skipping his whole life, and he said sometimes not even by choice. So I think for him, it was a great opportunity to, put his energy into something else, have a little less stress, let me handle that. And then what it's turned into is, one, he understands, the pressure that I feel being in that position. But also, he's 6'1", 240 pounds. He's built like a football player. And his strength is noticeable out there. And I think he's just adapted so well to the game. It's taken some time, obviously, but, he's doing such a great job at just really owning his role as a front ender. And it's funny, after we won the provincial on the weekend, we were chatting, and he just said, you know what? I'm not missing skipping at all. I'm so happy right now. And, this won't be the end of his skipping days. I know that in the future, but right now I think he's just fitting into the second position so well.
His fitness level seems, I shouldn't say it, his body composition has changed dramatically in, what do you think, a year or even less? What I guess, how long has he been going? I am assuming all of this. I have not talked to him, but I am assuming that he's working out like crazy, because it seems to me just as his body type has completely changed.
Well, yeah, and I mean, before, I know he had definitely done some body transformations in past, but when we sat down, I think the nice thing with our other player at front end, Ian, the two of Ian's very fitness focused as well, and I think just the two of them are really pushing each other, and he this is Tanner's personality, is whatever he takes on, he's all in. And knowing that, he wanted to be the best front ender, the best second around, that he is definitely putting everything into that. And, that's why I know he's only going to get better. He's only going to get stronger. So I'm really excited for the future of this team, and for I'll say for as long as I'm around.
Sure, yeah, it's pretty young guys. Go ahead, Warren. I'll come back in a sec.
Thanks, Kevin. Congratulations, John, on your win. Well, let's get into the elephant in the room. Broomgate 2.0. So, at the Grand Slam in Guelph a couple of weeks ago, there was quite a statement came out by the players just before the event started with regard to brushes. And let's clarify that you are a Balance Plus team. You use their brushes. And there was seemingly a concern that the new RS2 by Balance Plus and the Purser by Goal line, that the foam that they put into those brushes was causing some reaction to be different than what some people thought should be. So there was sort of a gathering, I guess, of the players from what we can see, and a statement put out that everybody had agreed to not use either one of those brushes in that event. So how did this happen with you? Were you approached on this? Were you in agreement with it? Give us your synopsis of exactly what happened.
Well, I guess I was down in Arizona, and I received a call from one of my former teammates, good friends, and he just said, "Hey, John, this is coming. The players, want this. This is going to be the statement. You can have a look at it, and this is what they're hoping, is going to happen next week." And I had a look at the statement over the weekend while I was competing, and I guess the guys kind of looked to me, my team, to say, what are we going to do here? And I thought, in regards the best way to handle the slam, my biggest concern was for my team facing all the distractions, I didn't want them to face any of the chirping and the comments made. We had already dealt with that at another spiel from some of the teams. So I didn't really want to feel that during our, week at the Slam, which was really important to us. It was a big kind of welcome back. We were really excited to be back, and I was really excited to be back in the Slam. So, we opted to, do one of the routes that they had presented to us. We didn't want to put another manufacturer's full head onto our broom because we didn't think that was very fair to, Balance Plus, who's been, a sponsor of mine for 15 years. So what we opted to do was actually something that is not allowed by the World Curling Federation and is against their rules, but we used, a hardline foam, but we used all of accessories of Balance Plus in our broom. And that's kind of how we chose, and we thought we would deal with the consequences after it all, if there were any that would come from it. So that's kind of how it all came to be. It was very quick. We had to try and get our our hands on everything. We weren't sure what we were going to be able to do. I was on the phone with the World Curling Federation like 10 minutes before my first game, trying just to get everything in just making sure they want to understand that what could happen. So yeah, and then we just played the Slam with that, with the hardline foam, which in the end, if everybody understands the way a broom, that each broom is manufactured, we were actually at a disadvantage again, playing in that Slam based on the way the brooms are constructed.
Okay, so since then, World Curling has put out a statement and have been clear the fact that both the Balance Plus and Gold Line foams are still going to be acceptable going forward until their comment is some proof is submitted that suggests otherwise. What are you going to do into the Brier and the playoffs in Northern Ontario you just had? Are you using the Balance Plus brush, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, at the provincial playdown, we used the 2.0. We know other teams were using it there, and there were some using the new Gold Line Pursuer. At the Brier, our understanding is that we're just using the 2.0 foam. I mean, it's a really tricky position you're putting us in. The players would put us in because we don't have we don't have something that compares to what they're using with Balance Plus. We have nothing that matches. So we can go back to the old foam. If we do that, though, I would ask the other teams to go back to 2017, 16 foam. That's what I would ask of them.
So from what I've been able to find out through investigation, both these foams, there's two things about them. They're black and they seem to have a kind of a skin over the surface of the foam that seemingly has caused a difference. What do you think should happen going forward here? Should the WCF continue in the same kind of testing process? Do you think the type of foam that is being provided now through that one that you're using and Gold Line is using is okay, or where do you think all this should go?
I think that all foam across all three manufacturers right now is too firm. So I think we need to go back to where we were in 2016 and 2017 and get back to those standards. Or maybe it's even more not as firm as those. Whatever we need to, but I know I think we're at a spot where I'm watching too. I can see that all foams are too firm. And, I had the conversation with some of the players and they said they agreed to that. They're like, yeah, all the foam is firm right now. But I guess what I'm questioning is it's been getting firmer and firmer. And I know there was a 2024 foam with a manufacturer that was not as firm as their 2023 foam. And then the teams were using their 2023 foam over the 2024 foam. So what I asked the players, I guess what I would say is, as it was getting firmer, why didn't the players all stop and say, are we too firm at this point? But now that the speed limit is, say, 80, they were at 77, we're at 79. So now, 79 is too much. So that to me is, are we going to dial it, we should all dial it back across the board? And what were they doing? Why didn't they think it was too firm and say anything the last couple of years? That's what I would question, because I was actually contemplating, what am I going to do this season? Because Balance Plus didn't have anything, and we were seeing what was happening, and we're thinking, what are we going to do as a team? And, Balance Plus had said, well, we've discovered some things when it comes to the previous couple years, and without being able to tell me really anything because they weren't allowed to. And then they said we are working on a new firmer foam. And then that's when I said, okay, well, I'll hang in there. And then that's when they came out with something at the end of September, early October.
Well said, sir. That was clear. I'd like to get back into the curling a bit. Just by watching you at the Slam, you guys played very, very well. Seems like though, like whenever I played against you or watched you lately, your aggressiveness is like well known. You're famous for that, being super aggressive. It seems to me you're a little bit less right now. Maybe it's because of the team you've got. I'm not exactly sure. It just seems to me that you're not taking as many big risks. You're not having to make as many wild shots as what you used to. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great, I think that's a great synopsis. Like, so what I've always done in the past is, and I sometimes, especially when I was playing against you, Kevin, our team, I always thought if we went shot for shot with you guys, that you would probably beat us most of the time, just with how good your teams were. So my thought was always to be ultra aggressive, put as many rocks in play, and really you got to just make one good one an end or a couple good ones a game, really good ones. And hopefully that would be enough. It would be, a big shot here or there to win. I would say with this team that I've been fortunate enough to build, the level, their level is so good right now that, I'm able to manipulate and manufacture the game differently than I would in previous years. And I also think too, just the level of play is just getting so good across the board that you have to be a little careful too about your shot selection and the way you play the game.
Epps. Is that okay if I call you Epps? Is that your nickname?
Oh, for sure. I've been called worse.
You've been called worse this week.
Exactly.
There's we've been doing this show 4 or 5 years now, and there's 3 or 4 things that just seem to be a constant factor in the discussion of curling all the frickin' time, and it never lets up. I guess the blank ends thing, what Nick Sulsky's trying, the 3-man team thing, is like, should you be allowed at high performance? We've got some emails, that we looked at today. And the other one is, 8 ends, 10 ends, 4 ends, 2 ends. I don't know. So what I threw those sort of 3 or 4 things at you, John. What the if you blank 2 in a row, losing the hammer. That's the topic du jour today. What are your thoughts on that? What do you say?
Yeah, I kudos to the Slams for trying this out, and that's one thing that's always been great about the Slams is experimenting. Trying new things and seeing if they work. This one, I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm not totally sold yet. I think that you can have some amazing, well-curled ends that are entertaining and precision play that could end up in a blank. And, I think I don't want to see you being penalized for that. And I think at the Slams, I think it's very strange that you're going to see a team in the first few ends, throw the first rock in the house and hit it anyways. For the most part, I think you're seeing, teams wanting to play. So I think, it can just happen sometimes that, this is the way it goes. I know for me, I don't see myself ever throwing in the very first end of the first game a rock in the house. So for me, I don't feel the necessity for it. But I'm okay to do it. I'm okay to try it. That's what I love about the Slams. Let's give it a go. Let's collect data. Let's get the feedback. And it put me in a couple tough positions at the first Slam. A couple of times I got stuck. So and it wasn't on purpose. I was playing aggressive for my 2. I just had to blank the end because that's just how it worked out. And now your hands are tied in the next end.
Right, John. Would you play with a 3-man team, or what do you think about playing against a 3-man team?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think, I know the sweeping can be tough because you're doing the extra sweeping, but with now the way directional works, you can switch back and forth. I just think that having an extra rock for those, two people ahead in the front. I think that can be a big advantage. I think what's great about our game is your lead throws two freezes. And then if you have to play another freeze or draw, well, they get to throw it again. Where it was always big to change to your second, now has to step in and make sure they know the path and figure out the path. And then vice versa, if it's, second to skip, you get that, or third, sorry, just that balance, because I think second has a bit of lead in them and a bit of third in them in the shot selection. So I'm just not a huge fan of that, third then being able to play three of the same shots that they would generally play. So, I just think it can be a big advantage from a shooting perspective.
The final one is the obvious. People want to go to 8 ends is to shorten the game, but part of that also is this talk of clocks and timeouts, and we get some people emailing us going, I can't stand it. There should be a shot clock. It should be firm, and the shots should be delivered a lot quicker than they are.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, this year I thought was one of the worst years I've seen for slow play on tour. And unfortunately, when we go event to event, you can't have time clocks. We don't have enough. You don't have enough volunteers. You don't have enough people. It's a lot of work to have. One thing about our sport, we need a lot of other officials and stuff involved, but we just don't have. We don't have that power, right? With people power there to be able to make that happen. So I think that. I don't know what we do. I don't know how we can figure it out, but I've played a couple 3-hour 8-end games this year, and it's, to me, that drives me nuts. I like to play fast. I'm from the school of Waymadaw, and I've noticed a big difference this year in the slow play.
What about Jacobs? Was kind of, speaking of Madaw, he almost pulled a Madaw to the crowd. He almost flipped the bird to the crowd there. A couple events, was it 2 events ago now, where he was? They were booing him. For whatever he did, I forget.
Well, he was playing Brad.
What?
Yeah, I think he was playing Brad, and he I think he gave up a steal instead of the. Anyways, I love that interaction.
Oh, you do? Okay,
and
good. Yeah.
I think Brad's great for that, and he was intense and it was encouraging it, but after the game he's great about it with the fans. There's no ill will. Like that's what I love about Brad's intensity. And he's the guy you want involved in that, because he would bring that on he would really bring that on from the fans and give it back to them, but in a very playful way. And I think that's how I took that scenario.
Yeah. I thought it was great.
It was awesome.
I did too.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
And Brad Gugio, I think he thought it was pretty cool too. I don't think anybody was embarrassed out on the ice. That is, some of the crowd though was a bit embarrassed.
And my understanding was the crowd gave him a big round of applause after the game too, is my understanding from it. So and I think Brad's just perfect to be involved in that. And he wears that villain well when it comes to coming into Gushu's house.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty honorable game. Like you don't see, I'd like to see a guy chirp another guy once in a while, like you were saying on the ice. Give him a little. I don't know, stick him in the ribs a little bit with your broom handlers.
Well, that's a Ben Hebert thing.
Yeah. You
mostly chirping, not hitting with a broom, but
sure.
chirping.
Benny's done some great chirping over the years, and I mean he makes you howl when he gives it to you or he's unhappy. I think that's one of my most favorite parts of curling against Ben is when you get him going, or you make a fluke that really sends him off the wall.
Every week or two, the new sheriff in town, in Nick Sulsky, he puts up something before the next slam, and he tells everyone, buckle in. We're going to try something. There'll be an announcement. Yada yada yada. Do you like Nick? I don't want to throw you under the bus. You have to like his passion for it. Do you like what he's trying to do going forward with the game and making it more vocal, a little more interactive?
No, he's awful he's awful. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You know what? Nick is exactly what I think curling in the slams needed. I think he's bringing in some fresh perspectives, some ideas. He's surrounding himself, with a lot of great people that are investing in curling. and I've had some great interactions with him. You can see his excitement, his willingness to, take some suggestions and ideas from the players and just have really open conversations. And I think that's just so good for curling right now. And that's exactly what we need. We need to put more bums in the seats. We need to put more young people on the ice and older people on the ice. And I think Nick's going to do a great job of helping that, and allowing the curlers and helping the curlers to push that through their avenues as well.
John Epping has been our guest. John, is there any part of by the way, boys, is there any part of the curling fraternity that steps up and goes, you know what? So I got a better foam brush. You guys got to keep up, Like, it's like a guy playing golf. Like, you don't have to have the same golf clubs. Or is it the equivalent of changing the golf ball if you're changing foams?
That's an interesting one, right? And I think what's happened is, one company now is caught up and maybe surpassed a bit. And now, everybody, there might have been a bit of panic. And I think, okay, maybe it has gone too far, but I think it's, like I said, that's technology. That's golf. We've seen it. That's golf. That's baseball. We've seen that in every sport, that it gets to a spot. And then do we have to dial it back? Do we have to go back and have the conversations and figure this out? Yeah, we probably do. And I don't know what you think, Kevin, too, and what you've seen over the years and in your past.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, and that's the thing about business people. Like, if you fall behind, you need to figure out something that's going to get you caught up again. Yeah. And then another company will do something else, and another one something else, and then that's how the game just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. And to your point, though, there is a limit. In golf, you don't want anybody hitting 500 yards off the tee. It's a problem, because you'd have to have a 1,000-yard par 4. You know what I mean? This is ridiculous. So you got to tone it down. Curling too. Like, we don't want to see on 14.5-second ice a 17-second draw get to the button. That's a problem. So yeah, it does have to be controlled. But this has happened forever, and it'll continue to happen in the future. Now, the players are going to have to figure it out along with World Curling and Curling Canada too. They have a stake in this as well.
Hey kids, everybody, get out of the pool. Epps is on his way to the Briar. Okay, let's go. We got a trip. We got a road trip coming up. Congratulations, John, and hopefully the next time we talk to you will be like 2 days after the Briar, and your voice will be like this because you won.
Yeah, I would love that. Okay. I would absolutely love it. That's because I would have had too many drinks in the past.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Man. Yeah. Good luck to you, John. Well done. Good luck going forward. Keep it up, and we'll be watching. We really appreciate you coming on today. All the best, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. All the best.
Thanks, John.